Guy tries to be Japanese Trump, ends up in prison? Wait, but he's Japanese Trump? Does that mean he's like, make Japan great again? Because his hat says make America great again.
Japan's dumbest politician and self-declared Japanese Trump, Tachibana Takashi, has had an unbelievably terrible...
No, he's literally wearing make America great again. That doesn't make any fucking sense. You're a Japanese politician running on... Can you imagine someone running in America? They're trying to be the American Ashiba, wearing a make Japan great again. Why would people vote on that? It's the aesthetic.
Year because he cannot stop screwing up. He launched a fake political campaign that turned into a real harassment campaign, which got so vile and chaotic it directly resulted in someone's death. That apparently was not enough, so he doubled down and went full racist mode, pissing off so many people that someone tried to redact him from existence. Now, there's a full-blown civil war in his party, and not only is he completely broke after wasting all his money on frivolous elections, but he's been arrested after attempting to flee to Dubai.
Oh shit.
Tachibana's trouble started with the governor of Hyogo Prefecture, Saito Motohiko, who was previously famous for looking like the human embodiment of C-3PO.
Okay.
In March 2024, Saito got in big trouble when a whistleblower accused him of bullying his staff and being an overall crappy boss, including an incident where Saito screamed at his driver for making him walk 20 meters. Saito immediately tasked his 6 best guys with tracking down who this whistleblower was. Yeah, that's exactly what someone who wasn't bullying their staff would do. Saito's team...
Someone said streamers be like, I'm docking all my employees' pay because you said that. I just want you to know that. So you're the bully. You're the fucking bully.
Quickly narrowed in on 3 government employees, and the prime suspect was this guy, Watase, who they interview and initially actually cross off the list. Unfortunately, immediately after the interview, Watase makes a phone call to Suspect B and inadvertently reveals that he was the whistleblower. Suspect B had answered the call on speakerphone with the investigators in the room. Watase was 60 and due to retire in 2 weeks, but Governor Saito immediately cancels his retirement and holds a press conference calling him out and saying his document is all lies, a complete fabrication, slanderous. Over the next few months, Saito pulls the self-investigation move and clears himself of all charges.
Oh, incredible.
He then punishes Watase with a 3-month suspension. Unfortunately, soon after this, Watase is found in his room with a note saying, "This is a protest against Saito." Look, I know it's disrespectful to brush over this, but it's an unfortunate consequence of YouTube's rules. So how does all of this relate to Tachibana? Well, everyone correctly pointed the finger at Saito for Watase's death. The Hyogo Assembly quickly got together and unanimously voted him out of office.
86 out of 86.
However, Saito pulled a pretty clever trick. Rather than resigning in shame, he purposefully served out the rest of his term. By doing so, the winner of the next election would get a full 4-year term rather than just finishing his term. Saito was gonna run again, and he wanted the full reset.
Okay.
But I mean, that doesn't seem like it matters, right? How is a guy who was just removed from office unanimously and currently under investigation
I don't understand how you can serve out the rest of your term when you get voted out unanimously. Am I missing something? Wouldn't he already be gone?
Win an election anyways. Well, that's where Tachibana comes in. Tachibana was the leader of the NHK party, a small, single-issue party devoted to destroying the NHK, Japan's public broadcaster. But more than that, he was just known for being a massive political troll. Tachibana announced that he was entering the race, but not to become governor, just to support Saito. He openly stated he was running a fake spoiler campaign just to attack the other candidates and the people investigating Saito. But if he didn't want to get votes, why did he even need to enter the election at all? Like, he could have just done this from home, right? Well, the answer
is not the kick the deer guy. The kick the deer guy was different. He was an influencer. He was like a...
Answer is because all candidates in this election get guaranteed airtime, and he was going to use all his airtime to attack Saito's opponents.
He has like the Trump...
Like, here's his campaign poster. It doesn't even have his picture on it, and it even says, "Do not vote for Tachibana Takashi." So to attack Saito's opponents, Tachibana started creating alternative facts on his YouTube channel.
He's getting
the
big
people
views.
investigating Saito were all corrupt, and they were doing it to cover up their own crimes. The mainstream media's fake news, and they had made up all the accusations because they didn't like Saito. It didn't matter that Saito had already confirmed parts of the report. All the evidence is fake. It's all fake news. This is the kind of stuff he was putting out for his campaign.
600,000 views on that?
私は目で合図をいただきました。立花さんよろしく。彼とは話をしたことがありません。でも目と目で合図ができました。
What is this, a Chuck Tingle novel? To be honest, it might as well have been, because Tachibana starts going off on Watase, the whistleblower, and saying he died not because of Saito's abuse, but because he was having a bunch of affairs and essaying his staff.
Jesus
こ
Christ.
んなことがばらされたくないから県民局長はだと考えるのが普通ですよ。
I really need to emphasize that this is not true,
Yeah.
and Tachibana made up this entire story based on a leaked recording of a Saito staff member saying,
それは当該本人の不倫日記です。過去10年間にわたります
Tachibana made up all that stuff based on a 3-second leaked recording from Saito's right-hand man. And Tachibana goes even harder on the investigators on Saito's case. He kicks up an absolutely vicious harassment campaign against them, putting out nearly daily videos claiming that the investigators were all corrupt and how they were going to get arrested any day now. He actually goes as far as leaking lead investigator Okutani's address in the thumbnail of one of his videos. He truly did not give a f***. At one point, Tachibana even shows up at Okutani's house with a mob behind him, rings Okutani's doorbell, and screams at his family over a microphone pointed at his house for over an hour. And Tachibana only leaves after saying this.
あまり脅しても福谷さんが連絡されても困るのでこれぐらいにしておきますけども、
Damn, dude, bro's a psycho.
まあ
To
This should make him
Tachibana's credit,
president.
he was incredibly effective at slandering Saito's opponents and attacking the reputation of the investigators. He flooded the internet.
This is going to be all the kick streamers getting into politics in 10 years. Dude, I can't wait. It's going to be such an awesome time for the country. I can't wait till all our politicians are live streamers. That's going to be fucking sick.
With pro Saito content
The
and
clip
made
farming's gonna go
66
crazy.
videos promoting Saito in 17 days. That's like almost 4 videos a day. And in the end, all of this actually worked because against all odds, Saito managed to win the
That's
election.
crazy.
To Tachibana, this was just proof that he was right. So why stop now? He kept putting out videos claiming that any day
man.
now, the police were about to arrest Saito's opponents. At this point, one of the investigators, Takeuchi, had enough. He'd been attacked left and right for months, and Tachibana was threatening to bring a mob to his house next. This led to Takeuchi's wife going hysterical, begging him to quit the investigation. So he did. He resigned on November 18th, 2024.
That's fucked up.
Tachibana took this opportunity to take a victory lap, saying any day now, the criminal mastermind who ruined Saito's reputation, Takeuchi, was about to be arrested. Tachibana was even trying to track him down in public.
竹内見かけたとかツイッターとかでバーって書いてください。僕すぐ追いかけに来ますから。
In the end, all of this pressure was too much for
Please tell me he
Takeuchi.
didn't kill himself.
Just a few months ago, he was a random government employee nobody had heard of, and now some large minority of the country thought that he was the evil kingpin of a massive conspiracy.
This should be illegal, bro.
On January 18th, Takeuchi as
That's
well
fucking
was
terrible.
found
Dude, they bullied
in
2
his
people
room.
into fucking suicide.
It may be hard to believe, but
This is-
this was not enough to satisfy Tachibana. He continued bullying Takeuchi,
竹内中傷してましたよ。はい。そもそも政治家が中傷される
That's
ぐらいで。
insane, dude.
なんかボケ。
Wow, he really is the fucking Japanese troll. That's like the Rob Reiner tweet, bro. That's insane. I can't. It's like sociopathic for someone to be dead and you're still pushing it.
and went as far as claiming Takeuchi died because he was about to be arrested.
元県会議員どうも明日逮捕される予定だったそうです。
This led to something super unprecedented happening. The Hyogo prefectural police chief came out with a public statement that they were not and had never been investigating
They're gonna go
Takeuchi
after
for
him
any
now. Go after
crime.
him.
明白な虚偽が SNS で拡散されていることにつきましては、極めて遺憾であるというふうに受け止めております。
Normally, Japanese police never come out with statements like this. But normally, people don't run fake spoiler campaigns just to harass public employees. So yeah, Tachibana got a little bit owned by the police coming out and saying everything he said was complete bullshit. But he didn't actually suffer any consequences for what he did. At least, not yet. In fact, Tachibana seemed quite proud of getting Saito reelected. So proud that he began dressing up like a minion.
As you do.
And calling himself the Japanese Trump. So naturally, he starts going on long racist rants about immigrants.
6年前は NHK の集金人が怖かったんです。でも最近は外国人が怖いんですよ。白人でアメリカ人とかヨーロッパの白人だとそんなに恐怖は感じないでしょうけど、やはり黒人とかイスラム系の人を見るとね、俺は差別にと言われるかもしれませんが、そういう人たちが集団で駅前とかでいるとね、怖いです。それは僕でも無理ですよ。
And if you think I'm being unfair to him, here are the man's own words.
黒人やイスラム教の人たち、イスラム系の人たちがいっぱいいると怖いと差別発言したっていうんです。いやまあ差別やろうけど言わなあかんでしょ。怖いもん。これからも僕はそういう人種差別はします。怖いから。
I should point out here that these black and Islamic immigrants Tachibana is so afraid of are a very small minority in Japan. Like, the main group everyone hates on are the Kurds, and there are only 3,000 of them in all of Japan, most living in a single district in Kawaguchi across the country. So Tachibana probably hasn't actually had any of these encounters with immigrants he's describing. He's just copying Trump. But what really gave a boost to Tachibana being the Japanese Trump was something that happened on March 14th. Tachibana was shaking hands at a speech event on the streets of Tokyo when a man waiting in line suddenly threw a flashbang at him like he was Naruto. The flashbang was completely ineffective, but the guy then attacked Tachibana with a 30-centimeter blade he had hidden in his jacket. Tachibana's ear was badly injured.
Why is it always the ear?
And the culprit was subdued by an audience member. Tachibana actually finished giving his speech while waiting for the ambulance.
What? A knife or something? Fight!
The attacker was a 30-year-old man named Miyanishi Shion, who described his motive as being generally unhappy with society and politics, but being especially pissed at Tachibana for his role in Takeuchi's death. Of course, he was charged with attempted murder. Tachibana, on the other hand, was very proud of his injury because it made him just like his favorite politician.
やっぱり僕は日本のトランプであるという自覚があります。すごく気が合うと思います。僕まだ話したことないですけど。彼は右耳打たれましたね。僕左耳切られたんですよ。
There are, however, some big differences between Tachibana and Trump. The first is, Tachibana is a huge loser. And by that, I mean he loses basically every single election he enters. After running in the Hyogo election, he ran in the Izumiotsu election, his hometown, and lost. The Chiba governor election and the Miki City election, he lost both. And then in July, he ran in the upper house election, which, surprise, surprise, he lost badly. You're probably wondering, how does Tachibana even have the money to run in this many elections? Good question. And the answer is he doesn't. The second difference between Tachibana and Trump is that Tachibana is completely broke because he can't stop losing.
You should launch a
Seriously,
coin.
could you imagine being this guy's financial advisor? Like, dude, I'm so bankrupt I can't stop entering elections. This whole time, Tachibana was reportedly working part-time at his friend's bar in Osaka just to cover his living expenses. But elections are not the only thing
cover
he's
the
been
election
losing.
expenses?
Tachibana also owes millions of yen as a result of defamation lawsuits. Yeah, as Tachibana learned, lying about people is in fact illegal in Japan, which led to him losing 3 defamation cases in the last 6 months. And he didn't stop there. Tachibana was also being investigated for an incident where he told his supporters to citizens arrest a heckler at one of his rallies.
Hey, if I do this though, it's real, okay? If I ever tell you guys the citizens arrest Aiden, we need to fucking mount up. We need to fucking, he's a problem. And like right now we're letting him operate, but we need to be ready. The Atrioc army is a literal army.
Surprise, surprise, pulling a mods arrest that guy in real life is definitely a crime, especially when your mods severely sprain the guy's neck. This is also probably a good time to mention that Tachibana has been on probation this whole time. In 2022, he threatened to dox a bunch of random people if Japan's public broadcaster NHK didn't meet with him immediately. I covered that story in my previous video and it's too insane to get into here, but yeah, this guy was extorting Japanese PBS. So he got 2.5 years probation.
Okay.
But despite committing crimes on a daily basis, Tachibana was strangely very confident that he wouldn't get into any trouble.
それ言いませんよ。でももう 99% ありません。私はちゃんと法を熟読し、理解をし、そして、証拠をもとにですね、法と証拠をもとに照らしてやっています。
Well, you just don't.
I don't know if he was just coping or not, but Tachibana started taking an interest in Dubai during this period where apparently he was discussing some $1 trillion deals.
1億2億とかっていう話じゃないんで、こっちの世界は。昨日もね、どんな話かは言えませんが、何百兆とかいう形の兆ですよ。何百兆、100兆とかいう単位の話です。
$1 trillion?
Yeah, it must be a complete coincidence that Dubai has no extradition to Japan.
He is
Starting
kinda
to
like Trump,
randomly
bro.
take trips to Dubai was a big red flag and was the last straw for the Hyogo prefectural police. On November 9th, they deemed Tachibana a flight risk and arrested him for criminal libel for his involvement in the death of Takeuchi.
Okay.
Yeah, it turns out Japan is one of the few countries where libel is a criminal offense. 2 weeks later, they added another charge for causing injury during an arrest for the citizen's arrest thing. And it only took a few days of Tachibana being in prison for the NHK party to completely implode. Like Tachibana's right-hand man, the vice president of his party, Saito Kenichiro, the guy who holds their seat in the house, immediately left the party. That's a pretty big blow. There's a good chance the NHK party could be done for good.
Nah, they're
The most
coming back.
confusing thing to me about all of this is what was Tachibana's goal in the first place? At the start, some rich guy paid for Tachibana to enter that Hyogo election to help Saito. But Saito never publicly gave Tachibana any kind of compensation for his help.
Maybe
I mean,
the
not that he
attention?
could without associating himself with everything that Tachibana stood for. And it turns out that in the end, Tachibana and the NHK party are like $5 million in debt, which actually might have been his strategy all along.
借金は返さなくていいんです。日本以外の国では罰則あるとかあるんですよ。法律をしっかりと正しく理解すれば、借りた金は返さなくていい。
I mean, their government doesn't pay its debts either, you know what I'm saying? So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's all just fucking wishy-washy.
This is not financial advice, okay? Do not follow what he's saying. But yeah, since Tachibana's always admitting to his schemes on YouTube, I don't think the prosecution will have to look hard to gather evidence for his crimes. And given that Japan has a 99% conviction rate in the first place,
Which is
dude
not
is
good.
probably going to prison. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Shout out to
I mean, interesting video for sure. Interesting video. Simply don't pay. Anyway, he lived large. He lived large. It ruined some lives. Was it worth it in the end? Tough to say.